finishes. Manchester City 3, Brighton 1. Jan, you were telling us off screen you thought that was a foul in the first goal for Haaland.
What? You are a liar, and you look more and more like Pinocchio. It was an interesting game because 3-1, yeah, was the score. But after 6-7 minutes, there was a break. There was an injured player down for Brighton. And Pep Guardiola made it a team meeting. He took over Haaland, and then there was 6-7 players in and around him. And he said, we have to go longer. He told Ederson, this is like 7 minutes. And then they score on a long ball 14, 15 minutes later. Brighton were good. Brighton had a lot of the ball. And it was 2-0 then to halftime. And when it came out in the second half, first you had that goal from Trossard that I think Ederson didn't look fantastic on that shot. But still, there was very nervy Manchester City at this time. And then, of course, that is the big difference between Brighton and Manchester City and possibly the most teams in Premier League. You have a player like Kevin De Bruyne. The technique he's using on that 3-1 goal is sensational. It's like an inside kind of... I grew up with, in my generation, Letizia kind of goal, and I got that 3-1. But that was a big relief for Manchester City, because these are... I will say these are the games you have to win, because at Chelsea and Arsenal and Liverpool, and no disrespect, they will maybe waste 2 points here. But Manchester City, after the game, they said they were nervous about it. You saw that on the stats as well. The Brighton had the ball more of them, and they had a big chances at 2-1 when Ederson did well. And Akanji was struggling at that time, and a long, long run could have made it 2-2 at that stage. So this is a big win for Manchester City.
More goals for Erling Haaland. Should we take a look at some stats then? So the record... Oh, no, this is what he's on side for. He's on the side for 57 Premier League goals in 38 games. The current record is 32. It's quite sensational.
Is that good?
Apparently. He's on the march for 100 Premier League goals in 50 games. The record is 124, held by Alan Shearer. In all comps, 260 goals in 174 games. The current record is 390 games to reach 260 goals, and that's held by Kun Aguero. Nedum, we mentioned before, obviously, you live in Manchester. Don't want to go down south. Looking at it overall, is it just the main thing that everybody wants to talk to you about?
Is Haaland? Yeah, kind of. But interestingly, in this game today, I'm with you on Aage. I didn't think City actually played that well. I thought Brighton gave them a couple of looks today in terms of the man-to-man marking, which made them very, very uncomfortable. But if there was one person who I wasn't envious of, which essentially came from that first goal, Lewis Dunk was basically in charge of man marking Erling Haaland when Ederson had the ball at his feet, and he got dragged in, got pulled out, but then before you know it, Webster's on the floor and Haaland's tapping in with his right foot. So I think he's obviously an exceptional talent. I think some of the sort of imperfections of his game came out today because at times they need him to maybe hold the ball up a bit more to set things up a little bit.
He scored 2 goals. You have to be picky about him.
No, I'm not being... listen, I'm more than happy that he scored the 2 goals, and they definitely needed them because, as Jan Aage was saying, having like a Kevin De Bruyne to make it 3-1, having a Haaland to make those 2 goals difference, this wasn't a game where City just ran away with it. It was a long way from that. I thought Brighton were very, very good. They really impressed me, but they were missing that little bit of magic which City do have. But for Haaland to be scoring 2 goals again, at 30 minutes in, people said, oh, he's on hat-trick watch again. And you're thinking, it's October, what are we doing? How's this even part of a normal mindset about watching a player on the field? And he doesn't necessarily need to be dominant for the whole game, but he always seems to create chances, and he has so much confidence. And as soon as that penalty was given, you knew exactly where the ball was. It was in his hands and he was walking away, and there was going to be nobody to take that away from him. So credit to him. He certainly loves scoring goals, and it's a great reaction now that his 1-game goal drought's over.
Nedum, can we just go back to my original question? How big time is he in Manchester? How much is everybody talking about him?
Yeah, it's the main topic of conversation because City are obviously doing pretty well, and it seems to be not purely because of him, but every time there's a notification that pops up on your phone, it says goal, Erling Haaland. Think how many times that's been seen in the last 2-3 months. Having United people talking about it, City people talking about it, the Premier League's discussing it. And you can create those stats where it says if he carries on at this pace, he might score 1,000 goals before he's 30 years old. It's getting to that point where it just feels ridiculous. But the finishes are very, very good. And the best thing about it, I think, is the fact that when you watch him that he can get better. And I suppose that in some ways is the alarming thing for some, but the exciting thing for fans of Man City.
Go on, Jan.
Yeah, now just interesting with the Manchester, the last 7 days I've been here for 5. And I went to the City shop and asked them, I bought 3 shirts, and I asked them, how many of your shirts are Haaland shirts? And they looked at me and they said, every shirt. And I said, yeah. And I said, I understand that, but how much? 70, 80%? And he looked at me and said, 99.
Wow.
So it's unbelievable. But I think that you have to add to this game. I think there were 2. We always talk about how does he make Manchester City better. First of all, they have been missing a lot of penalty the last couple of 3 seasons. That is point 1. And point 2 today, the most important job he did today was when they had to change the game a bit and play that longer ball. He had to do some wrestling to keep the ball or get a free kick up there. So I think that today you saw how they have progressed after they're getting Erling in there. Of course, there are a lot of great players in there, but they have this skill now that they didn't have last season.
Can't believe that you went to Nedum for hype and cheerleading.
Well, no, I know, but I was going for the Manchester aspect. I didn't know. I didn't know Jan had been there. And so you kind of think, what, 99% Erling Haaland?
Yeah.
What's the 1%? It's Nedum Onuoha.
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
it? That's the other percent.
You just got to know your team, Jan. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Know your team.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.